Good morning, everybody. Time for a daily recovery snack. I'm Chris. Wednesday, February 4th, and we are finally starting to thaw out in Southwest Virginia. Yeehaw. Hope everybody's good, safe, and warm. Appreciate you joining me. Going typical again. Daily reading out of 24 hours a day. Hazelton book. February 4th, AA Thought for the Day. Treating others to drinks gave us a kind of satisfaction. We like to say, have a drink on me. But we were not really doing the other people a favor. We were only helping them get drunk, especially if they happen to be alcoholic. In AA, we really try to help other alcoholics. We build them up instead of tearing them down. Drinking created a sort of fellowship, but it really was a false fellowship because it was based on selfishness. We used our drinking companions for our own pleasure. In AA, we have real fellowship based on unselfishness and a desire to help others. And we make real friends, not fair weather friends. Question: with sobriety, have I got everything that drinking's got without the headaches? Meditation for the day. I know that God cannot teach anyone who is trusting in a crutch. I will throw away the crutch of alcohol and walk in God's power and spirit. God's power will so invigorate me that I shall indeed walk on to victory. There is never any limit to God's power. I will go step by step, one day at a time. God's will shall be revealed to me as I go forward. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may have more and more dependence on God. I pray that I may throw away my alcoholic crutch and let God's power take its place. I can relate to the using drinking companions for your own pleasure, and sometimes maybe even not so much pleasure or whatever, but I kept myself around drinking companions the way that I did, I think because it normalized my way of life. Normal's relative to the individual and exactly wherever they decide to put their feet. Humans can normalize a lot of things that don't necessarily, would be described as healthy. And I definitely, buy drinks for other people or whatever when I happen to have a little bit of extra money. But mine was more about arrogance and attention, I think, self-centeredness. I like to be that guy. I'm doing good enough that I can buy y'all some drinks. But I think it was more self-serving than it was about buying other people drinks. I don't know. I had a lot of stuff mixed up, for sure. Meditation for the day. I know that God cannot teach anyone who is trusting in a crutch. The word cannot is right there. I got taught a whole lot of lessons, for sure, during my running. But it stipulates that I know that God cannot teach anyone who is trusting in a crutch. I picked a higher power, and my higher power was not a spiritual being for a long time. My higher power was drugs and alcohol. And you want to talk about going to church every day of the week. You want to talk about, reliance upon a higher power or whatever. But you couldn't get no more deep than what I was into it, as far as that being the center of my world, what I woke up for, what I went through the day for, why I worked to make sure that I had, the things that I thought that I needed, or the perception of what I thought, that I needed for others to make sure that they understood that I was winning. It was a sick and twisted way to look at things. But I don't believe I could have been teachable of a new way until I got the drug. I believe that until I got the drugs and alcohol out of me. I couldn't do the things that I knew I needed to do until the intake of those things stopped. Buddy of mine told me one time, he said, drugs and alcohol, I may have mentioned it before, but drugs and alcohol are not your problem, they're your solution. And he said, if you want to figure out what actually is bothering you and what some of the problems are, he said, stop drinking and drugging. He said, those things that pop up, those are the issues. Those are the things that need attention, and you'll know what they are. They're called feelings, and it's probably been a while since you felt some of them, and whatever that is that comes to the surface after you remove the drugs and alcohol, those are some of the first things you want to start addressing, because those were the main things that you were tamping down with the drugs and the alcohol. So anyway, that's pretty much it for the day. I pray that I have more and more dependence on God. I will go step by step, one day at a time. I run a 24-hour program. I've been sober a while now, but I can mess that up in an instant. I've done it in the past with relapse or whatever. That's kind of why I keep it small, keep it down to 24 hours. That's pretty manageable for me. Way more days than not. And that's kind of how that's the suggestions that I've taken. Try to get all kinds of God in my life these days, morning, noon, and night, and try not to bite too much off, man. Just concentrate right where I am. Look for the next best thing that I can do to try to assist in whatever it is that I see. So anyway, I'm rambling again. Appreciate y'all joining me. Please like, subscribe, share, if you're drawn to do so or whatever. And Lord willing, we'll be back tomorrow. Y'all have a blessed day. Stay warm out there. And again, thank you for joining. Talk soon. Bye-bye.